Buenos días and welcome to Stepping Stones Lección 43. Good afternoon. I'm thirsty. Good morning or good day. Good afternoon. Good night or good evening. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good day. Good afternoon. Good night. Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Say them after me. Buenos días. Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. How about muy buenas tardes for the one in the middle? That would mean a really good afternoon. Muy buenos días, muy buenas noches, muy buenas tardes. A very good afternoon, a very good morning, a very good evening to you. This is Chef Pierre, French Chef Pierre. He says, learn French. It is a major language of the world. And these are some of the places where French is spoken. Many of the countries around France, and some that are far away, speak French because they grow up with it as a language that is actually used in school or in their neighborhoods, or maybe it's a way that they use to do business with people in France. Many of the people in the Mideast grow up around French. And of course, our neighbor to the north, Canada, many Canadians speak French. When you are learning Spanish, you are actually gaining an advantage for learning another language, like French. Now let's look at the letter that we call in English E, and which we call in Spanish E. Leche. Leche. Sometimes you'll hear me pronouncing it a little bit lazy. Leche. Le. Normally I would probably say le. But we all get lazy with our pronunciation. Now listen to it in English. Lecture. Le. So listen closely. Leche. Lecture. Let's go down to cheese. And the word below it is an English word. These are birds, kestrels. And I believe they are called sparrowhawks many times. Smaller hawks that eat smaller birds. Now listen to this. Sometimes you'll hear me pronouncing queso a little bit lazier. Queso. Instead of queso. Now, I know it may be hard for you to hear that difference, but to me it's real obvious. Queso. It's a lazy e. Queso. Compare it to this now. Queso. Kestrels. Queso. Kestrels. That's not easy to hear either. I know, but I wanted to show you that sometimes sounds are difficult to hear, but as you become more fluent, you start noticing these little teeny differences, and they scream out at you. And many times, they contain entirely different meanings. Let's look at this handout which you have available. Tengo sueño. I'm sleepy. ¿Tienes sueño? Are you sleepy? Tengo calor. But what about you? ¿Tienes calor? Tengo sed. I'm talking about myself. Tengo sed. ¿Tienes sed? Tengo miedo. No tengo miedo. Tengo frío. No tengo frío. Tengo hambre. No tengo hambre. These are things that you will have many chances to use during almost any day. There'll be something in here that you can use. So practice them. And then we'll use them in a 5-item práctica, which we will start right now. So you'll need to pause and get a pencil and paper if you don't have one yet. Número uno. I want you to use the initials there to make this sentence, which is saying, I'm thirsty. La respuesta es, yo tengo sueño. Yo tengo sueño. Número 2. Grandma, are you warm? Are you hot? Abuela. Now we're going to leave the abuela outside of the question because the question is right here. So we're leaving it outside of the question marks. Now the question marks come into play because this is where the question is. That's how we think of it in Spanish. Abuela. Tiene. Now I could say tienes, but that's a little more informal. And some people don't do that with their grandparents or their parents. They leave it like that. Tiene. And what does that mean? It's a show of respect. Tiene calor. Abuelita, ¿tiene calor? Número 3. La respuesta es hermano, and again we leave this outside the question marks and we begin the question. Now we're going to use the informal ending with the ese. ¿Tienes sueño? Hermano, ¿tienes sueño? Número 4. La respuesta es abuelito or abuelo. Now we start the question. Tiene. I could say tienes, I could, but maybe a family tradition might be to not do that. Abuelo, ¿tiene calor? Abuelito, ¿tiene calor? No, no tengo calor. ¿No tiene calor? Sí, tengo calor. Número 5. See if you can fill in all of the missing things. La respuesta es mamacita, which would be mommy. Mamacita. Tiene or tienes, but let's just say in this tradition the family doesn't do that. Mamá, ¿tiene miedo? There's a storm outside. ¿Tiene miedo? No, no tengo miedo. Well, as far as I'm concerned, yo sí tengo miedo.